Force-free trainers are dog abusers. Whew, I've heard some in my time, but this one's kind of on the top of the cake there.
I mean, they're trying to exploit. I understand the force-free side is trying to take these situations and exploit them when they're the real dog abusers.
What? 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 What?
Now, normally when I get comments like this, I just really don't even give it the time of day, because unfortunately when statements like this are made, the person that is making them is oftentimes very set in their ways, not very open-minded and interested in evolving practices. It's usually somebody that's kind of in the older generation, that's very more traditional, and hasn't really kept up with modern practices in dog training or behavior modification based on science. In fact, the person who made this comment in particular calls it trash science. That tells me they have no idea how the scientific process actually works and how it lends an incredible hand to helping us better understand our canine companions and build mutual relationships with them. So I'm going to read you a couple of these comments. We're going to discuss them very quickly. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because the term mentioned in some of these comments, repeatedly actually, is bribery. And I do think it's starting to become this thing out there, this rhetoric, so to speak, and know how much Americans love their rhetoric about how using food in training is bribery. And that couldn't be further from the case. Using food in training is a motivator and a reward system. It's giving the dog something that they like to say, yes, I like that. I want to see more of that behavior. And we're going to have a give and take relationship. So you're going to give to me and I'm going to give to you. You're going to do things that I like and I'm going to do things for you that you like. That's how mutual relationships work. We'll get into that a little bit more here. But first, let me read you some of these comments that he posted on my YouTube page. And I'm going to read them directly so that I'm not paraphrasing here. First up, you have no clue what you are talking about and are marketing an ideology which follows a path of bribery. You are unable to reconcile the reactions of dogs because you are aligned with a superficial process. Permissive Parenting 101. All right. Comment number 2. Also, where is your video content which showcases how great bribery really works? Guess it is no accident or coincidence that there is none. We'll tackle this second comment first. Bribery doesn't work. I would not make a video on how to bribe a dog to get them to do something that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So of course I would not put a video out on bribing a dog to get behaviors that you want. That doesn't work. And the first thing that I'm going to mention about both of these comments and the force-free trainers or dog abusers situation is that anyone that struggles in particular with English as their native language, their first language, I'm sorry to say, but is probably going to struggle greatly in trying to understand a different language, especially in a different species like a dog. So there's that. Now let's go ahead and look at a couple of definitions, and I'm going to take these straight from the dictionary as well, so there's no paraphrasing involved before we dig into this a little bit deeper. Let's start with abuser. Number 1. A person who abuses something to bad effect or for a bad purpose. An example of a sentence would be notorious abusers of the English language. Fitting. Definition number 2. A person who treats another person or animal with cruelty or violence, especially regularly or repeatedly. So let me get this straight. Using no force, being force-free in dog training is violent or cruelty to animals or doing something to the effect for a bad purpose. So again, back to the use of the English language here and just spewing rhetoric that is not going to hopefully land on anyone's ears. So moving on, let's look at bribery real quick. Bribery means to persuade someone to act in one's favor, typically illegally or dishonestly, by a gift of money or other inducement. Now, I can see where a lack of knowledge in modern dog training and behavior modification could look like bribery. If I'm using food, perhaps I'm using that as a bribing system to try to get the dog to do something that I want. That's not the case, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. So let's talk about using food as a reward system. What is a reward system? Well, it's something that the dog really likes. And it doesn't need to necessarily be food. It can be anything that your canine companion likes. For example, if your dog really likes to play tug, or your dog likes to fetch, loves the flirt pole, likes the squeaky toy, likes ear rubs, likes verbal praise. It's not just about food. It's about using anything that your dog likes to, again, form that cooperative relationship, that mutual relationship where there's give and take back and forth. The last thing we want to think about is food as a bribing system. We aren't saying, here, look what I got, or do what I want, or you aren't going to get it. That's not how reward systems work, and that's not how modern dog training or behavior modification works either. So when you're thinking about using food, there's a couple different ways that we do this. And if you need a little bit more in depth of an explanation, you can check out my luring versus rewarding video, because ultimately that's what we often use food as motivators in, with luring or rewarding. Now in luring, we often use it to show a dog exactly what we want. So a specific location, a specific movement, because they can follow that food. And then when they get where we're trying to place them, they get that food as a reward. Now, a reward system is where you mark a specific behavior, and you're marking exactly what you want so that they will repeat exactly that behavior again. So for example, when your dog sits and you want to mark sit as the thing you want to see repeated, as soon as that little butt hits the floor, boom, they get the food reward to say, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. Let's do that again. This is how you form a mutual relationship based on something that the dog loves and desires. If you have any questions about using food or any other type of reward system when it comes to dog training or behavior modification, please don't hesitate to drop your comments below. Yes, this is a very effective method. Yes, this is modern technology, and anyone who tells you otherwise is not evolving in their practice or keeping up with the research that gives us so much information about how to interact successfully and effectively with our canine companions.